I think Hank is having an affair. While discussing my future over lunch with his parents, a heavy silence fell over us. My phone suddenly rang, breaking through the tense atmosphere. It was Hank. If he found out I was at his parents' house, he'd lose his temper and yell at me again. Nervously, I excused myself to take the call, but Hank said something unexpected. "Dad's collapsed, so I'm heading to my parents' house." "But your father is right here."
Shh.
His father's expression changed from the earlier gloomy look to a mischievous smile. It seemed he had something in mind. Both his parents and I were fed up with Hank's tyrannical behavior. This might be our chance for freedom. I made up my mind to follow his father's lead. I'm Nadine, 45 years old. I met and married Hank when I was 23. The early years were happy. But after we both turned 34, Hank started changing. He developed a nasty habit of taking his bad moods out on others. I suspect it started when he was transferred to an unfamiliar department at work. He began treating me with obvious contempt and grew increasingly irritable. Even though his parents repeatedly warned him about his aggressive behavior and constant yelling, Hank would strongly resist and become more stubborn. Eventually, his parents and I grew weary of his attitude and now try to avoid contradicting him to keep the peace. It would be a lie to say I never considered divorce, but I lost my parents early in life and had nowhere else to go. Besides, even though things weren't going well with Hank, I'd come to think of his parents as my own, and I couldn't bear the thought of abandoning them. "What kind of dinner is this?" "It's inedible," Hank said in a harsh voice. Tonight's dinner was orange chicken with salad and Chinese-style soup, but apparently, it wasn't to his liking. "The portions are too small, and there aren't enough dishes. Don't be so lazy with the housework." He slammed the table, causing some soup to spill. Hank clicked his tongue in displeasure at the sight. "Hey, what are you spacing out for? Clean it up." I did as told, wiping the table with a cloth and taking it to the kitchen. As I walked away with slumped shoulders, Hank delivered another blow. "Go to the supermarket and buy some side dishes. This isn't enough to fill me up, and it's killing my appetite. If you care about how hard I work, then hurry up and go." Knowing he'd yell again if I didn't respond, I quietly acknowledged him and fled the house. Due to the late hour, most prepared foods were sold out, but I managed to buy a pork steak and returned home. I found the dishes cleaned off and left empty on the table. Hank was watching TV with a sour expression, and clicked his tongue again when he saw me. "You're so slow that I had to make do with the orange chicken. I'll eat that side dish for breakfast tomorrow." He probably just wanted to harass me, or perhaps he didn't want to eat while looking at my face. I ate my now cold dinner amid the hollow sound of the TV. Since Hank never helps with housework, I washed both my dishes and the ones he'd left on the table. The whole time, Hank just watched TV. Without saying a word, his demeanor suggested he didn't want me in the house. Even when I asked, "Aren't you going to take a shower?" he ignored me, still in a bad mood from dinner. Once he gets upset, he ignores my existence for a while. However, if I stop talking to him like he does to me, he becomes furious and verbally abuses me, so I force myself to act normal even when I don't want to talk to him. "I'm going in first," I said. Even after I finished my shower, Hank continued watching TV. Being ignored again. No point in dwelling on it since it happens so often. After waiting a while and seeing no movement from him, I decided to head to the bedroom. The laundry and bathroom cleaning weren't done, but they'd have to wait. I'd take care of the remaining chores tomorrow. With these thoughts and intense fatigue, I drifted off to sleep. Hey, You're spending too much money. How can you go through this much? I'm trying to save as much as I can. But with inflation and having to buy side dishes every night for dinner. Are you saying this is my fault? I flinched at his loud shout. Hank's face was red with anger, his eyes blazing. Who do you think is feeding you? Know your place. Stop making excuses and just focus on the housework. It seems we won't be having a real discussion today either. Save more. This is money I earned through hard work. Handle it more carefully. It's not your money. Though Hank is so fixated on money, he strongly opposes me working. We don't have children, and I think if I worked we wouldn't have to rely solely on his money, but he stubbornly refuses to allow it. His reasons change every time I ask. Sometimes he says, "You can't even handle housework properly, how could you possibly handle a job?" Other times he yells, "Are you suggesting my salary isn't enough to live on? Don't embarrass me." He's even glared at me and shouted, "You just want to have your own money to play around with." He probably just doesn't like the idea of me having any freedom beyond his control. Lately, especially, he yells about whose money it is whenever I try to go out with friends or buy something. He's convinced that if I start working, I'll neglect the housework. I've grown tired of trying to persuade Hank and now just do whatever he says. When Hank is angry, I just repeat yes, and I'm sorry until his anger passes. It's your poor money management. I'm earning money, but we can't improve our lifestyle because you're incompetent. Hank, who was ranting like this, kept his salary in his own account and only gave me a set amount for living expenses. He hasn't considered the rising cost of living, and the amount has remained the same since we got married. Of course, it's not enough anymore, but when I say we need more for living expenses, he berates me, saying I'm bad at managing money or spending wastefully. Yet inconsistently, no matter what dinner I prepare, he always demands I buy side dishes. Once, when I tried preparing by buying side dishes in advance, he exploded in anger about wasteful spending. After that incident, I concluded that Hank just wants to harass me and try not to take any extra actions. His reaction when I bought side dishes in advance was particularly terrible. Though he's plenty awful now, during that time he was in a bad mood for about a week, completely ignored me, and left marks all over the walls and doors from throwing things. Nadine, hello. It's been a while. You're looking worn out again, aren't you? In the midst of these suffocating days, my only solace is seeing Hank's parents about once a week. Welcome. I'm fine, please don't worry. Unlike Hank, they are very kind and always concerned about me. Though we've both given up on Hank, they still try to think of ways to improve the situation, perhaps feeling bad for me. Hank, I heard from an acquaintance. I hear you often tell others that times are tough. Why don't you come live with us? Just saving on rent would make a big difference. Even though Hank's parents aren't very well off financially, living together would certainly make things easier. We can help with the housework too, so living as 4 people should be fine. If Nadine wants, she could even work while we handle the housework. Then you wouldn't have money problems anymore, right? His parents seem to have concluded that Hank's irritability is due to money problems. Of course, they probably realize that's not the only reason. They're trying to eliminate the most manageable source of his stress. They're also carefully choosing their words to avoid provoking him. They're very concerned about Hank taking his bad moods out on me. It was such a kind offer that I wanted to agree immediately. But Hank apparently felt differently. He glared at his parents hatefully, his face red with anger. We realized we had failed again. Hank exploded, shouting and spraying spittle as he berated us. Don't be ridiculous. Stop implying I can't support myself. Don't mock me. Being my parents doesn't mean you can say whatever you want. You're denying my personhood. His father started to object but gave up. Once Hank starts raging, he won't listen to anything. It would only add fuel to the fire. This is the worst. Don't look down on me and expect me to keep obeying you. You're just trying to get your hands on my salary, aren't you? Well, forget it. I don't want to live at home. I'm independent. I can't be bothered taking care of you. That's not what we. Don't talk back. Hank slammed the table, and his mother fell silent. Though I thought his words to his own parents were terrible, my objections wouldn't reach him. He's the type who believes he's always right and everyone else is wrong. Besides, while I could handle him taking things out on me, if he started taking it out on his parents too. The thought alone was terrifying. Don't ever interfere with how I do things. I feel sick. I'm going out. Hank stormed out after his outburst. The front door slammed shut with a deafening bang. He always acted violently toward objects, creating loud and harsh noises. This was probably another form of harassment toward us. In the space Hank left behind, his parents hung their heads. Nadine, we're sorry. We're such inadequate parents. We must have raised him wrong. Please stop, that's absolutely not true. I couldn't believe that his parents, who could repeatedly warn such a temperamental person as Hank, were inadequate. Besides, when I first met him, he was polite and kind. That must have been thanks to his parents' upbringing. He's an adult now. His upbringing and parental influence aren't valid excuses at his age anymore. Hank's actions are his own responsibility, so you shouldn't blame yourselves. Watching his parents agonize over each of Hank's actions made my chest hurt. I didn't think they needed to feel parental responsibility for a son over 30 anymore. This might sound rude, but he used to be kind. I believe that was because you raised him well. It's unfortunate that he changed, but that's Hank's responsibility. At first, I too made excuses for him, thinking he must be busy at work or stressed from an unfamiliar department. Looking back, that might have been a mistake. Once Hank learned he could get away with it, he kept deteriorating. Thinking about it that way, I bear more responsibility than his parents do. When I shared these thoughts with his parents, they frantically denied it. That's not true. In relationships between adults, even married couples, it's unhealthy to feel responsible for another person's actions. Nadine, you've done nothing wrong. We're eternally grateful that you've stayed with our son for so long. I feel the same way. For a moment, his parents looked surprised, then smiled slightly. They seemed to realize how strange it was that they felt responsible for Hank. If I'm not responsible, then certainly his parents aren't either. Feeling somewhat relieved, we had tea for about 30 minutes before dispersing. A few days later, I was visiting my in-laws. Since it was a weekday afternoon, Hank wouldn't find out. I kept it secret because I knew he would be furious if he discovered I was going to his parents' house. Thanks for coming, Nadine. Come in. Let's have lunch. Unlike Hank, his parents are very kind. They always warmly welcome me, even though we're not blood related. It was really enjoyable preparing lunch together. After we'd been seated for a while, his father asked me, "So, what did you want to discuss?" "It's about Hank, isn't it?" "Yes." "Well, I think Hank is having an affair. Nadine, I apologize, but I'm not terribly surprised. Well, given how badly he behaves, I suppose this sort of thing is to be expected. Their frank assessment made me laugh despite myself. Yes. When he was in the bath, I happened to notice a notification on his phone. It was from a woman, saying Sunday was fun. After that, though I knew it was wrong, I checked Hank's phone. His password was his birthday. Checking his messaging app, I found explicit exchanges with what appeared to be a young woman from his workplace, and I was amazed at how careless he'd been. It seems the affair started around the time he changed departments. I see. So he started demanding you save money and yelling about it because he needed money for the affair. His father sighed, his face clearly showing his exasperation. Still, I'm surprised someone with his personality could manage an affair. Apparently, he's sweet and generous with his mistress. That's the impression I got from the messages. So all that stress was being taken out on you and us. Having reached this conclusion, we all let out deep sighs. The lunch we'd prepared with his parents was ruined. Though it was delicious, I could barely taste it. What should we do? No matter what we say, his personality probably won't change now. While I could divorce him if worst came to worst, his two parents, being blood relatives, don't have that option. And I don't want to run away either. I didn't want to burden his parents. My phone's ringtone suddenly cut through our thoughtful silence. It was Hank. Could he have found out I was at his parents' house? Excuse me, I need to take this call from him. I excused myself to his parents and operated my phone. When I answered, Hank threw surprising words at me. Dad's collapsed, so I'm heading to my parents' house. But your father is. Because Hank was speaking so loudly, his parents could hear him even though the phone wasn't on speaker. His father, seeming to realize something, put his finger to his lips.
Shh.
His expression had changed from the earlier gloomy look to a mischievous smile. Following his father's direction, I silently listened to Hank's words without revealing that his parents were right in front of me. 3 days later, while I was still staying at my in-laws, Hank called again. Surprised by the multiple incoming calls, I operated my phone to find a half-crazed Hank raising his voice on the other end. Where are you right now? What's this divorce papers? Don't mess around. His voice was so loud as usual that everyone around could hear it. He apparently didn't like that I'd left divorce papers and left the house. His mother gestured, "Let us hear," so I quietly put the phone on speaker mode. I'm not messing around. I'm serious. What? Don't be naive. You've been a lazy housewife all this time, there's no way you can survive on your own. What a rude person. His mother and father frowned. I answered calmly, without being particularly moved. I'm afraid you're mistaken, I've already found a job. What? Hank's voice trembled. Despite always berating me, divorce apparently didn't suit his plans. Of course not, he's losing his free housekeeper. The company where your father used to work was hiring office staff, and he introduced me. Dad did? Hank knows well that his parents are fond of me. He didn't like that either, complaining that they were spoiling me. I worked in office administration before getting married. It's part-time, but they said they might make me full-time depending on my performance. I plan to work hard toward that goal. So this divorce is my parents' doing? Don't you have any will of your own? Hank's words left me completely dumbfounded. Did he think I was just going along with getting divorced? If he thought I had no reason to want a divorce, he should really reflect on his own behavior. I endured your terrible treatment because your parents have been so good to me. If those two say enough is enough, of course I'm going to divorce you. Who do you think has been feeding you all this time? You ungrateful. Though I would normally stay quiet at this point, I've already decided to divorce him, so it doesn't matter how bad his mood gets anymore. I unleashed all the honest feelings I'd been holding back. Unlike your father, you can't do any housework, yet you got to live in a clean house, eat 3 meals a day, and always go to work in clean suits because of me. Do you have any idea how hard it was to meet the demands of such a self-centered, selfish person? You're the ungrateful one. He probably wasn't expecting me to fight back. Hank's voice clearly showed his confusion. But he quickly recovered and started yelling again. Of course that's expected when I'm feeding you. I don't feel any gratitude toward you, and even though I've been guaranteeing your daily life, there's no reason for you to criticize me. Oh really? Is that so? My cold tone made Hank falter again. He wasn't used to being attacked. But being proud, he couldn't help but fight back. What's that supposed to mean? If you have something to say it clearly. And so he pulled his own trigger of misfortune. Well, let me tell you then, for these past 3 days, you've been fooling around with your mistress while claiming your father was in the hospital, haven't you? Huh? What are you talking about? That makes no sense. I could almost see Hank breaking into a cold sweat. He clearly hadn't expected that I knew. Hank hadn't considered that I might act in ways he couldn't predict. I was truly, deeply disgusted. I have copies of your message app conversations, and I even have photos of you two leaving a hotel 2 days ago. You snooped through my phone and took secret photos? That's invasion of privacy. Don't act high and mighty when you're the one having an affair. When I shouted back, finally snapping, Hank fell completely silent, probably shocked by my outburst. His parents, watching the scene, weren't making any noise but seemed to be enjoying themselves. I too felt naturally energized at the thought of finally getting back at Hank. You might not know this, but that hotel you used is run by one of your father's acquaintances. The cleaning company that services that hotel also has one of your mother's friends working there. The restaurant where you went with your mistress is run by your father's college junior. Everyone who saw you two together consulted with your parents. After Hank called me saying he was going home, we decided to investigate his surroundings to gather evidence of his affair. Then, witness accounts started coming in one after another from your father and mother's friends. They only knew Hank from when he was little, so they hadn't noticed until now. Since you two were spotted in various places, gathering evidence was very easy. Thank you. Hank remained silent. He was probably speechless. I pressed my advantage. I'll be demanding compensation from both you and your mistress. Compensation. He finally came to his senses when money was mentioned. How typical of him. While inwardly disgusted, I continued speaking. I have no intention of withdrawing the divorce petition, so hurry up and sign it and submit it. If not, we'll settle this in court. I had also kept a diary of all the mistreatment I received from him. While the affair alone would be sufficient grounds for divorce, I hadn't expected the diary would help in getting higher compensation. I originally started it as a hobby to calm my feelings. I kept it along with the household accounts since Hank had forbidden me from going out or spending money on myself. Thinking about how Hank's actions had come full circle to corner him made me feel so good I could almost laugh. Goodbye. Though Hank was still making noise on the phone, I had nothing more to say to him, so I hung up immediately. Nadine, you look so refreshed. Do I? Let's splurge a bit on dinner today. To celebrate Nadine's new beginning. His parents, who had offered to let me live with them even after the divorce since I had nowhere else to go, were still treating me like their own daughter. Having suffered together from Hank's behavior, we had developed a bond that felt even stronger than family. I was so happy that I nodded with a smile as bright as theirs. Just when I thought it was all over, an incident occurred right after I started working. Hey! You're Nadine, aren't you? On my way home from work, I turned around when someone called out to me. It was Serena, Hank's mistress. Why do I have to pay compensation too? It's not like I was seriously interested in that old man. I just took advantage of him because he spent money freely. You got cheated on because you couldn't keep him in line. Don't drag me into this. Her face was red with anger. She was waving around her brand name bag, looking like she might grab me at any moment. A colleague who was standing at a distance looked surprised and hid from Serena. She signaled to me by waving her phone. I could probably leave the police call to her. I'm sorry, but the law allows claiming compensation from mistresses too. You knew what you were doing, didn't you? If you didn't know, just think of it as a lesson in risk management and give up. What's that supposed to mean? Don't mock me. You old lady. Are you jealous because I'm young? Serena stomping her feet looked more like a child than someone young. A child throwing a tantrum when things don't go their way. Come to think of it, Hank also acted like a child. They might be two of a kind. If so, they're probably perfect for each other. Though whether good compatibility means it will last is another matter. I'll leave Hank to you. Wishing you eternal happiness. Are you stupid? I don't want that old man. Anyone would understand that. Since she had been saying the same thing when she first approached me, it was probably her honest feeling. This meant Hank had been abandoned by both me and his mistress. Serena continued making a scene for a while, but the police took her away, thanks to my colleague's call. Let go. Don't touch me. I'll sue. Ignoring her commotion, I bowed to my colleague. I'm sorry for the trouble. Thank you for calling the police. Don't worry about it. I've heard a bit about what's going on. Nadine, you've been through a lot. This is the least I could do, but hang in there. As expected of a company where his father had worked, the people are very kind. I heard many of them had been helped by his father, and because of that influence, everyone treats me well since I was introduced by him. After bowing to my colleague and seeing her off, my phone rang. Checking it, I saw it was from Hank, so I decided to answer while the police officers were still nearby. Nadine? It's me, Hank. I was wrong. I'm sorry, let's start over. The voice coming from my phone was completely different from usual, a wheedling tone. I couldn't help but frown. Your parents say they can't deal with you anymore. They told me that. You're all I have left. So? Did he think I would sympathize with just that? Please don't insult me. I have feelings and pride too. After receiving such terrible treatment from him day after day, it's impossible not to hold a grudge. I can't deal with you anymore either. Be happy with your mistress. Wait. Serena dumped me. He probably didn't think I already knew. It was a predictable outcome that anyone could see coming. There was no way a young woman would seriously be interested in a middle-aged man like Hank. She got angry about the compensation and demanded I pay it for her. I got angry too because I'm being asked for compensation, and we got into a fight. She hasn't contacted me since. He seems quite hurt, but it's entirely self-inflicted. I just got carried away. I lost sight of myself, please forgive me. I've told you many times it's impossible. I'm apologizing here. Instantly dropping his pleading tone, Hank flew into a rage. The police officer who was about to leave stopped. You're at my parents' house, aren't you? I know the address. Don't think you'll get away with this. And my parents too. All of you getting together to mock me. I'm already in front of the house. I'll make you regret this. At this point, there was no way to talk his way out of it. Hank had once again pulled his own trigger of misfortune. I'm recording this call. Hank's voice, which had been roaring just moments before, suddenly became quiet. He probably realized how serious his outburst had been. But it was all too late. There are police officers nearby. I've had this on speaker, so the police have been hearing this conversation. They're already radioing it in. Indeed, the police officer was hurriedly speaking into his radio and heading toward his patrol car at a quick pace. That can't be. This is plenty of evidence. You really are so easy to deal with, I'm grateful. Hank started mumbling excuses on the phone. He was saying things like it's not true, it's a mistake, he got carried away, it was in the heat of the moment, but all his pronunciation was unclear and hard to make out. Besides, police sirens were blaring on his end of the phone too, making it even harder to hear his voice. Your mother and father have told you many times to work on your quick temper, haven't they? You really are hopeless. My voice probably wasn't reaching Hank anymore. He continued mumbling something in a daze until I hung up the phone. After that, Hank was ordered to stay away from his parents and me. Thanks to his careless actions, both the divorce proceedings and compensation claims were settled without issue. Hank continues to pay compensation little by little. This is because his new workplace is also run by an acquaintance of his father, who agreed to deduct monthly compensation payments from his salary. Rumors of his affair and his mistreatment of his wife and parents have made it very uncomfortable for him at work. There are rumors he might quit soon, but it's questionable whether any company would hire him if he did. Serena also quit her job after it became uncomfortable at work. She apparently raised the compensation money by selling the brand name bags and clothes Hank had bought her. I hear she's working in the nightlife industry now, but she's supposedly gotten involved with a new man and is spending money even more recklessly than before, even going into debt, so I don't know how long we'll keep hearing about her activities. I started living with Hank's parents. They even legally adopted me, and we became a real family without Hank. I decided to cook meals for them on weekends. Dinner's ready. Come on, let's eat. This looks delicious again today. You're really such a good cook. My cooking being enjoyed by my mother and father-in-law, just watching them makes my heart feel energized. Next week, my mother-in-law is planning to make my favorite dishes. Shall we go shopping together tomorrow? I'll drive. Where should we go? Let's take a little trip, eat out, and come back. Having lost my parents early, I had always wanted a family. I must have envied the warmth of having parents. Though I couldn't get the family I wanted through marriage, I feel like I've finally found my ideal family here. I'll cherish these people who cherish me. As long as these people are here, as long as the fact that they loved me exists, My life will be happy from now on.